President Trump has said he will pull the United States out of the Paris Climate Change Accord.
President Trump knows that America needs all our nation's energy resources to power our homes, power our economy, and really to power our future.
If we don't do anything, no one else will. And that's what we're feeling right now.
You say you love your children above all else, and yet you're stealing their future in front of their very eyes.
I was there when Trump won the election and when he began to name the people he wanted in these really important environmental roles.
It is an honor to appear before this esteemed Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources.
The false paradigm that if you're pro-energy, you're anti-environment, and if you're pro-environment, you're anti-energy. I utterly reject that narrative.
It became very clear in the weeks to follow that the administration was choosing a very different set of players, and nothing embodied this more than Scott Pruitt.
You've joined or filed 14 lawsuits against the EPA.
And he's put somebody in place who was actually defunded or led to the defunding of the Environmental Protection Unit within your own agency.
It was a 180 shift. You went from people who very much wanted to do things to help combat climate change and had an environmental view that was very different than the people who were coming in.
As you know, I'm here to announce that those standards that were set, that we are obligated to evaluate, I am determining that those standards are inappropriate and should be revised.
He immediately agreed to, for example, revisit tighter tailpipe emissions for cars and trucks, which in fact was the most significant climate policy adopted under the Obama administration. So you saw a flurry of activity across a range of areas where essentially EPA Administrator Pruitt and Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke were taking aim at almost anything significant that the previous administration had done on energy and the environment.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
The U.S. used to have a big voice, and the U.S. used to be a leader, and that evaporated. And the impact of that is that it sort of tacitly gave a permission to other countries maybe to not do as much as they would have. Other countries said the ambition isn't there without the United States. The world needs the United States. Obviously, the Paris Accord went on, countries kept pushing forward with this, but it felt different and it looked different without the United States as a real part of it. I think there were several things at work, and one of them was just a different philosophy about government, that government shouldn't try to dictate how people cut their carbon emissions or how companies regulate different emissions of pollutants that they put into the air in the way that Democrats had traditionally done. So there were some long-standing ideological differences about the role government should play.
He just said he was going to want to get out of it if he was elected, and I thought, if he says that to the voters and that's what everybody's expecting, that's what he should do. I don't see the benefit from it, staying in it, so why stay in it,
Decisions made thousands of miles away, driven by ideology or money or all sorts of things, really have an impact on people's everyday lives, and that they themselves don't necessarily have easy answers for how to move forward.
And I see again the forest fires are starting. They're starting again in California. I said, you got to clean your floors, you got to clean your forests. They have many, many years of leaves and broken trees, and they're like so flammable. You touch them and it goes up. I've been telling them this now for 3 years, but they don't want to listen. The environment.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I am 15 years old and I'm from Sweden. I speak on behalf of Climate Justice Now.
I was at a UN climate conference in 2018 in Poland, in a small town in Poland, and people were talking about this young woman who was kind of mesmerizing to listen to and very blunt.
You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
Keep that carbon in the soil, no more coal.
In the last few years, millions of young people marching in the streets, demanding more climate action, demanding governments to take this seriously. And in some ways, I think Trump and his dismissal of climate change and climate science probably contributed to the rise of that. But in some ways, that movement may have led to whatever platform Joe Biden has now come to in making this a priority. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 4 years that continues.
Here's a commitment I made that we're going to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord.
Las ventanas estaban moviéndose mucho, entrando el agua por todos los sitios, empezaron las filtraciones, las ventanas a abrirse, bueno, una cosa brutal. De verdad que fue una experiencia demasiado fuerte.
If only for the fact that the Trump administration has done a lot to influence environmental policy in the U.S. when it comes to rolling back, by our count, 135 or more environmental regulations, and this spans water rules, air quality rules, wildlife and our public lands, and drilling. And so it's been kind of like drinking from the proverbial fire hose just in covering the policy.
One of the biggest impacts we'll see, regardless of the lawsuits to follow and all the different activities that the next administration will do, is the United States will have spent 4 years not grappling with climate change. And more than anything, that will translate into higher greenhouse gas emissions. It may translate into how, some Americans view what we should do as the path forward. That is the real legacy that's incontrovertible, no matter what comes next.